Have you ever wondered why something that used to bring you comfort now feels a little off? Not wrong exactly, just different, maybe a little rushed, less satisfying, less connected. I've spoken with many men in their 60s and 70s who've quietly admitted the same thing, that something about their private routines doesn't feel the way it used to. One of them, Mr. Harris, looked me in the eye during a checkup and said, "Dr. Kapoor, I've been doing it the same way for 50 years, and now I'm not sure it's even working." He wasn't talking about dysfunction. He wasn't ill. He wasn't on new medication. His body was fine, but what had changed, what he couldn't quite name, was how disconnected he'd started to feel. And I knew exactly what he meant. You see, as men grow older, their bodies change in quiet but powerful ways. Hormones shift, sensitivity evolves, and habits that once worked perfectly in your 30s or 40s might no longer serve you in your 60s or 70s. Yet almost no one talks about this, not openly, especially when it comes to something as deeply personal as masturbation. It's often treated like a taboo, a leftover habit from youth that's expected to fade with age. But here's the truth, it doesn't need to. In fact, it shouldn't. When approached with awareness and care, masturbation in your later years can be an important part of physical health, emotional regulation, even confidence. But only if you're doing it in a way that's right for the man you are now, not the man you used to be. That's where so many good men get caught. They bring old habits and outdated beliefs into this private space, not realizing those patterns may be quietly working against them. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through 7 of the most common self-pleasure mistakes I see men over 60 make. Not to shame, not to correct, but to gently help you reclaim this part of your life with respect, wisdom, and vitality. Because you deserve to feel good in your body. Still, now, always. Let's begin. Letting go of the semen retention myth. Let's begin with a belief that's held far too many older men back from experiencing peace, connection, and pleasure in their own bodies. The idea that withholding ejaculation makes you stronger. Maybe you've heard the term semen retention. Maybe someone told you that saving up would give you more energy, sharper focus, or even higher testosterone. It's a story that's floated through certain corners of the internet, wrapped in science-sounding language and promises of regained masculinity. And I understand why it's tempting. At this stage in life, many men are looking for ways to reclaim vitality, to feel powerful again, to feel like themselves. But here's the truth most people don't say out loud. Your body wasn't designed to store that part of you indefinitely. In fact, holding it in for weeks or months, especially after 60, can quietly lead to the opposite of what you're hoping for. When I met Edward, he was 71 and full of questions. He'd stopped ejaculating regularly because he believed it would somehow conserve energy. He said, "I thought I was doing the right thing, but now I feel irritable, tense, and honestly disconnected from myself." What Edward didn't realize, and what many men don't, is that our bodies rely on natural release for far more than just pleasure. Moderate, consistent ejaculation helps regulate hormones. It reduces tension in the pelvic region. It promotes prostate health. It even improves sleep. But when you suppress that function, your body starts sending quiet warning signals: discomfort, congestion, mood changes, and eventually a dull kind of emotional flatness. You may still feel desire, but without expression, it can start turning inward, becoming frustration instead of relief. Some men think that controlling their urges shows strength, as though resisting their own biology makes them more disciplined or wise. But real strength isn't about suppression, it's about understanding. It's about learning to listen to your body, to respect its rhythm rather than override it. There's no gold star for abstaining if it leaves you feeling agitated, exhausted, or isolated. And more importantly, there's no shame in choosing self-connection over silent suffering. This isn't about indulgence, it's about maintenance. The same way you stretch to keep your back from stiffening or walk each morning to keep your legs strong, allowing your sexual energy to move through your body is part of staying whole. It's part of aging with vitality instead of fading into discomfort. So, if you've been carrying this idea that saving up somehow makes you more of a man, I want to invite you to question it, not with guilt, but with curiosity. Ask yourself, is this belief serving me, or is it quietly making life harder? Let your answer come not from fear, not from pride, but from how your body feels when it's allowed to breathe, to release, to function as it was meant to. You're not the same man you were at 30, and that's a beautiful thing. With age comes wisdom, but wisdom only grows when we let go of myths that no longer fit. You don't have to choose between dignity and desire. You can have both. You can feel alive, strong, and deeply connected to yourself, not in spite of your age, but because you've learned what your body truly needs. And sometimes that starts with letting go of the idea that more control means more power. Sometimes it means making peace with the simple truth that your body deserves to feel good. Still, now, always. The hidden cost of doing it the same way every time. There's a quiet comfort in routine, especially for something as personal and private as self-pleasure. Many men have spent decades using the same technique, the same hand, the same rhythm. It's familiar. It gets the job done. And for a long time, that may have been enough. But as your body changes with age, what once worked like second nature may slowly start to feel muted, less intense, less satisfying. And for many, that shift doesn't just feel physical. It starts to chip away at your sense of confidence, your connection, your spark. You might begin to wonder, is something wrong with me? But the answer, more often than not, is much simpler. You're not broken. You're just stuck in a pattern your body has outgrown. I remember talking with Eugene, a thoughtful, soft-spoken man in his late 60s. He said, "Dr. Kapoor, I still want to enjoy myself, but I feel numb. It's like my body's forgotten how to respond." When we talked more, it became clear. For over 40 years, he used the same method every single time. Same grip, same motion, same pace. What Eugene didn't realize, and what I explained gently, is that the nervous system adapts. If it's exposed to the same type of stimulation over and over, it stops responding with the same intensity. Your body learns that this is how it happens and gradually becomes less receptive to anything outside that narrow window. It's not a sign of aging in the way most men fear. It's a signal that your system is craving variety, novelty, a gentle awakening. The good news is this: you don't need to abandon what's familiar. You simply need to expand it. Change the hand, shift the pressure, slow down, try new angles, textures, or rhythms. Even introduce tools designed with your comfort in mind. Not because there's something wrong with you, but because your body, like your mind, still wants to be surprised, engaged, and respected. This isn't about chasing newness for its own sake. It's about keeping your senses alive, your nervous system responsive, your experience of pleasure rich and grounded in presence. Think about it like exercise. You wouldn't do the exact same workout every day for decades and expect the same results. Your muscles need new challenges, and your nervous system is no different. When you give yourself permission to explore, you begin to reawaken the parts of you that may have gone quiet, not just physically, but emotionally. You might notice that your imagination comes back, that you stay more connected to the moment. That pleasure becomes less about finishing and more about feeling. That kind of change doesn't just improve sensation, it restores confidence. It reminds you that you are still very much alive in your body, and you deserve to feel that. So if you've been noticing a dullness creeping in, don't ignore it. Don't assume it's just your age. It might be your body's way of gently asking for something new, not flashy, not extreme, just different enough to feel fresh, to feel real again. And that small shift can make all the difference, because when you touch your body with curiosity instead of habit, it responds, it remembers, and so do you. Slowing down to feel more. When you were younger, self-pleasure might have been something quick, rushed, squeezed between responsibilities, or hidden away out of habit. Many men learn to treat it as something private, yes, but also something to be finished fast, without much thought. And for years that probably worked. But with time, that urgency can quietly turn into a pattern, one that no longer serves you. Now, as your body slows down, that old habit of rushing can become the very thing standing in the way of real satisfaction. I've seen this so many times. A man in his 70s sits across from me and says, "Dr. Kapoor, I still climax, but I feel nothing afterward, just a kind of emptiness." And that hurts to hear, because he hasn't lost his capacity for pleasure. He's just never been taught that pleasure, real, fulfilling pleasure, requires more than a goal. It requires time, space, presence. Rushing through self-pleasure turns it into a task instead of an experience. You reach for the release, not the feeling. Your mind skips ahead while your body's trying to catch up. And what gets lost in that race is the very thing you were hoping to find: connection. Not just physical release, but the emotional ease, the grounded calm, the feeling of being alive inside your skin. That only comes when you slow down, when you stop trying to get it over with and start treating those minutes as something meaningful. One of my patients, Peter, once said, "I tried slowing down like you suggested, and it scared me how much more I felt." That's not unusual. When you give your body time to build arousal slowly, you start to notice the texture of sensation again. You feel warmth where there used to be numbness. Your breath deepens. Your heart rate softens. You feel more tuned in, not just to your body, but to your emotions. And that feeling, that's intimacy, even when you're alone. I know for many men, this idea of taking time feels foreign, maybe even uncomfortable, but I want to gently remind you, there's no finish line anymore. You're not on a timer. You don't have to hurry. In fact, it's in the slowing down that your body starts to come alive again. Take a deep breath. Touch with intention. Linger. Let your attention follow the sensation instead of trying to push through it. You might find that arousal lasts longer. That climax feels fuller. That afterward, you don't feel empty. You feel nourished. And isn't that what this part of life should be about? Not checking boxes, but deepening experience. You've earned that. You've earned the right to slow down, to feel, to enjoy your body without rush or shame. Slowing down doesn't make you less of a man. If anything, it helps you reclaim parts of yourself you thought were gone. And the beautiful truth, they were never lost, just waiting for you to stop and listen. Reconnecting with the rest of your body. For many men, Self-pleasure has always been centered on just one part of the body. The focus is almost entirely on the genitals, as if that's where sensation begins and ends. But here's something that might surprise you. The older you get, the more important it becomes to involve your whole body in the experience, because when you limit touch to just one area, you're not only narrowing your physical sensations, you're also cutting off deeper layers of connection, emotion, and vitality that your body is still more than capable of offering. I had a conversation recently with a man named Calvin. He told me that for years he had been going through the motions, touching the same place the same way, and wondering why everything started to feel a little dull. "It's like the lights dimmed," he said. But what he hadn't realized was that his body, like all of ours, has dozens of places that can awaken pleasure, presence, and a sense of emotional grounding. He just hadn't been exploring them. And the truth is, most men don't. We're not taught to. But your skin is your largest organ. Your inner thighs, your chest, your lower back, your neck, your stomach, your perineum. These areas are filled with nerve endings. They hold memory, energy, and warmth. And when you begin to involve them in your moments of self-connection, everything changes. Your body starts to feel like a whole landscape again, not just a switch you flip. The act becomes slower, deeper, more about being with yourself than trying to perform for yourself. This doesn't mean becoming someone you're not. It simply means giving yourself permission to expand your experience, to rest a hand on your chest and notice your breath, to trace your fingers along your hips or thighs without rushing, to discover that the warmth of your palm or the pressure of a slow, gentle touch can stir something new, something alive. Some men worry that exploring beyond their genitals will feel strange or unnatural. But what I tell them is this: your body has not forgotten how to feel. It has just been waiting for an invitation. When you begin to include more of yourself, physically, emotionally, energetically, you give your nervous system a chance to reawaken. You allow old patterns to soften. You experience a kind of pleasure that isn't just sensation, but presence. And maybe for the first time in a long time, you start to feel whole, not just aroused, not just functional, but truly alive. This isn't about being experimental or someone you're not. It's about honoring the complexity of your body, the depth that still exists, even if it's been quiet for a while. You deserve to feel that again, to rediscover the parts of you that still respond, still crave attention, still offer joy. There is no shame in expanding your experience. In fact, there is strength in it, wisdom, the kind that only comes when you stop limiting yourself to what you've always done and begin to ask, what else is possible? What else might still be waiting for me? And the answer is more than you think. The simple power of lubrication. There's something so small, so seemingly insignificant, that many older men overlook it entirely. Yet this one change, this one tool, can quietly transform how your body experiences pleasure. I'm talking about lubrication. It's not flashy, it's not new. But for men over 60, it can mean the difference between friction and flow, between discomfort and ease, between feeling disconnected and suddenly feeling everything again. When Raymond first came to see me, he spoke in a hushed, hesitant tone. "I don't understand," he said. "It's not that I don't want to, it just doesn't feel good anymore." He wasn't experiencing dysfunction, but something even more frustrating: dullness, irritation, a subtle resistance that made every moment feel like effort instead of intimacy. And when I asked if he was using any lubrication, he looked at me like I'd asked if he needed training wheels. "I've never needed that," he replied. That's the response I hear most often, and I understand it. For many men, using lubricant feels unnecessary, maybe even embarrassing. But here's the truth. As your body ages, natural moisture decreases. Skin becomes thinner. Sensation shifts. What once felt smooth may now feel dry or less responsive. That's not failure, it's biology. And using a high-quality lubricant isn't giving up. It's adapting. It's choosing comfort over pride. It's choosing connection over discomfort. When you introduce lubrication gently, intentionally, you remove the barriers that aging skin sometimes puts in your way. You reduce friction. You reduce the risk of micro tears or irritation. You allow for slower, more comfortable touch. And most importantly, you awaken parts of your body that may have gone quiet not because they couldn't feel, but because they've been coping with resistance. The men who try it, truly try it, often come back surprised. "It felt like my body woke up," Raymond told me during our next visit. And that's exactly what happens. Nerve endings soften, pressure becomes pleasure again. And what was once a mechanical act becomes fluid, responsive, and connected. For men with arthritis or reduced dexterity, lubrication also makes the act easier. It requires less effort, less strain. It invites a kind of ease that's not just physical, it's emotional. Because when touch feels good again, when it flows without pain or interruption, your body begins to trust the experience, and so do you. Let me be clear, there is no shame in using tools that support your body. We use reading glasses when our eyes change. We use cushioned shoes when our joints ache. Why should sexual comfort be any different? Lubrication isn't weakness, it's wisdom, it's self-respect. It's a quiet acknowledgement that your body deserves support. So if you've been feeling discomfort, tension, or numbness, I want you to ask yourself, could this be the thing I've been missing? Not because it changes everything instantly, but because it removes the resistance that's been quietly building up over the years. Sometimes, the path back to pleasure starts with something as simple as giving yourself permission to make it easier, smoother, kinder. Your body still wants to feel. Give it the chance. Releasing the weight of shame. There's something far heavier than age, and it often lives in silence. It's not physical, though it affects your body. It's not visible, though you can feel it in every touch you avoid, every moment you rush, every time you question whether what you're doing is wrong. I'm talking about shame, quiet, deep, often inherited, and almost always undeserved. When I spoke with Arthur, a retired teacher in his 70s, he told me something that struck me hard. "Dr. Kapoor, I've never once felt fully okay touching myself. Even now, even at this age." That level of honesty takes courage, because the truth is, so many men were raised in environments where pleasure was whispered about with discomfort, or worse, wrapped in judgment. And even now, decades later, those old beliefs still echo. They shape how you feel about your body, how you touch yourself, how you talk or don't talk about this part of your life. But here's what I need you to know. There is nothing shameful about taking time to connect with your body. There is nothing inappropriate about seeking comfort, relief, or joy within yourself. In fact, when done with intention and care, self-pleasure can be one of the most grounding, emotionally restorative things you do for your health. It's not indulgence, it's self-respect. Studies have shown that regular mindful self-pleasure in older adults is linked to better sleep, reduced anxiety, improved mood, even stronger immunity. But you won't feel those benefits fully if shame is sitting in the room with you, watching, judging, tightening your chest. That's why it's not enough to just change your technique or routine. You have to challenge the beliefs that were handed to you without your consent. Ask yourself gently, whose voice is that in my head? Is it mine? Or did it come from someone else who didn't know better? Letting go of shame doesn't happen in one moment. It happens in small, repeated choices, in deciding to stay with yourself a little longer, in breathing through the discomfort, in replacing guilt with gratitude. And with time, something softens. You begin to touch yourself not to escape, but to return to your body, your breath, your quiet strength. There's immense dignity in that. In learning at this stage in life, that pleasure is not only allowed, it's needed. It's a way of reminding yourself, I still matter. My body still matters. My needs are valid. And I don't need anyone else's permission to feel that truth. You've spent a lifetime caring for others, showing up, staying strong. Now you're allowed to turn some of that care inward, to find comfort in your own hands, to meet yourself not with judgment, but with kindness, because your body at any age is still worthy of pleasure, still capable of healing, still deserving of love, especially from you. If you've made it this far, I want to take a quiet moment with you, not as a doctor, but as someone who deeply respects the man you are. You've spent a lifetime pushing forward, showing up, taking care of others, and now you're being asked to do something you were never taught to do. Turn inward without guilt. Listen to your body with kindness. Let it feel again, not to prove anything, but to reconnect with something sacred, your own vitality. We've explored 7 of the most common, most quietly damaging mistakes older men make when it comes to self-pleasure. And maybe for the first time, you see yourself not as broken or past your prime, but as someone who's simply been using old tools for a new season of life. That's not weakness, that's habit, and habits can change. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to figure it all out tonight. All you have to do is begin. Maybe that means slowing down. Maybe it means trying something new. Maybe it means letting go of shame you've carried for far too long. Whatever your next step is, let it be one of care, not pressure. You're not too late. You're right on time. And I'll be here cheering you on every step of the way. If something in this video spoke to you, even just a little, I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment, share your thoughts, or just let me know you're here. And if you'd like more honest, gentle guidance like this, I invite you to subscribe. You're not alone on this journey.